And the point is we need a transition. I bought this, but now I'm making my own. A transition from your chimney of the brick. You make a transition for the pipe. Hey everybody, it's Stove Talk with Matt. The transition from your brick masonry stove to your pipe, the pieces can be very, very expensive. So I just want to show you how you can make your own. I just got this pan from the Goodwill for $4, and putting inside any old plastic container that's just over 6 inches. So this little thing of Rutland refractory, but whatever you have at home, it's just to make sure it's more than your pipe. This is just perfect, just 6 1/4. You spray, you make your molds, or you spray your molds with PAM for cooking, cooking spray, or you could just use oil. I mean, the wood will come off anyway, but I always, especially for this, use an oil or a cooking spray, and use just regular. If you can, there's usually regular concrete, high strength concrete. Mix it a little bit wet, so you can pat it down so it gets level. If you're not used to mixing concrete, it can get too wet very, very quickly. Should be just a little bit wet on top, but when you pat it, it should go level. Just by pat, it should go level. If it's not leveling itself, kind of like water when you pat it, it's not wet enough. And then it will get very, very wet on top for the first 3 or 4 hours if you're not used to concrete. This doesn't need to have the huge strength, so I like to mix it a little bit wet so it just goes perfectly into form, and you can just pat it down with your hand to make it level. Pretty good. Let's take our bucket out. This didn't come out as easily as I thought. This bucket's almost empty, which really helps. I had to really push it on the sides, and then it just comes right out. So you don't have to make, this is for another purpose, a 40-pound slab that goes on top. But this is more of what you would need, just a smaller pan. Probably for most applications. Then the transition from your brick stove or your fire brick stove to your pipe, your stove pipe, that should hopefully be at least 10 to 12 feet, if not 15 feet long. Again, this is bigger than 6 inches, so it won't hold anything. You simply cut, you get 20 gauge, you can get these at hardware stores. 20 gauge is pretty solid. Stainless steel. It's galvanized, so again, when you burn it off initially, it's zinc poisoning until the zinc and the galvanization gets burned off. It's dangerous. Be careful. Don't breathe it. You simply get snips and cut a hole that's a little bit less than 6 inches. So your pipe will sit on this. Let's see what the gauge is here. 22 gauge. 22 gauge is good enough. 20 gauge is thicker. Lower the gauge is thicker. 22 will work. Yeah, it'll cut off a 1/4 inch or a little bit of your pipe diameter, but that's okay. You need something for the pipe to sit on. When your hole's cut out of your 20 gauge piece of metal, again, remember this, the pipe will just fall right through there. That's bigger than 6, but just slightly bigger. You use your, this is a good product, Imperial Furnace Cement, which has some water glass in it, and it's not real strong, but you can just put rubber gloves on and just pack it around the best you can your pipe, and this'll as long as it doesn't has to hold anything heavy. This is a real good product for, like, when you put a barrel on. You put a barrel on a flat surface for a rocket stove, and you should always have this on hand. And it lasts, if you don't open it, it will last for several years. Really easy to work with, holds, but will not provide much strength. Now for strength, when you make one of these. Again, you don't need something as I'll show you what I'm doing with this later, guys. This is way too big, too thick. It's probably close to 50 pounds. Again, you'd make something like this. But if you have, for strength, if you have just stuff lying around, once you get an inch or two of cement, drop some, whatever you have around the house that could act as rebar, drop some pieces in at 2 inches so it doesn't fall to the bottom, 2 or 3 inches. Drop some pieces in. It doesn't add as much strength, but I have, this hardware cloth I use for a lot of my stove tests. Cut little pieces and drop it in at 2 to 3 inches, then pile your cement on top. Definitely do a layer of at least a mesh or a thin rebar for strength. And to get it smooth like that, you mix it a little bit wet. The strength will be a little less, or even 20% less, but all you have to hold is your pipe. And if the pipe gets real heavy or above, you can secure it or take the weight off it above. And again, some of you guys obviously are more than me, but some people are new, so I have to do this. I cater to the new person, the novice. When your concrete's wet, and add little water very, very slowly. It can get too wet like that. All of a sudden it'll be just water. Add water very, very slowly. Mix, you smack it. Just smack it, tap it, tap. Just keep on wet concrete. Smack, vibrate. Smack. You can create your own. They have vibration machines that do this. You have all sorts of air bubbles, and it won't be even. Tap with a rubber glove. Smack, 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 smack. As you smack it, it'll get level. Keep smacking it all the way around. Take air bubbles out, then you can get your. Without that, you won't get the smooth sides. You won't get the smooth sides. Act as your own little vibration machine. Well, here's the stuff. Some people are outside the United States. It's oil cooking spray. I didn't spray the garbage bag. The garbage bag will come right off, but it'll come off anyway. But it just makes it super easy if you spray your forms with this stuff. I don't know if you can see this, pretty dark, but I made an insulating piece of pipe, which is a pipe inside of a pipe, and it has a good 1-inch lip that sits. You wouldn't need to cut that sheet metal if you use something like this, because this is 6-inch stovepipe. This would go right down into the hole, and this is bigger than the hole that I just made, so this lip would sit, and that's why I made what I made. But if you don't want to make this, you could just cut your sheet metal, so the 6-inch pipe would sit on your sheet metal. And the point is, we need a transition. I bought this, but now I'm making my own. A transition from your chimney of the brick. You make a transition for the pipe. This works for me because, again, my insulated stovepipe sits on the ledge here, and then my 6-inch pipe goes down a bit. But that's what we're doing. Just the transitions are very expensive. And you can make your own for a bag of concrete and a pan at the Goodwill. You can make your own for about 12 bucks. Well, for something like this, if you were just using regular stovepipe, your regular stovepipe would sit on this ledge. I'm not, it depends on how much weight, how high you're going up, if that would work for you. I would tend to cut some 20 gauge sheet metal, and it would cut your pipe off a little bit. You want little ledges on each side. It's okay. Your transition, you'd have 6-inch stovepipe here. Your transition in would be the equivalent of, say, 5 inches. That's no big deal. That's not going to block your draft. So then you would, with that Imperial stove cement that I showed you, you would pack pack all the spaces and pack the edges with the Imperial. So you don't have to get it perfect. The gases want to escape through a hot pipe. They don't want to come out small cracks, but as the stove quiets down and the draft goes just to coals, you could get a seepage of gases or carbon monoxide. So I would just use a whole thing of Imperial and just pack the crap of it all the way around, and it's a good product for that.